Carolyn from Mommy Ramblings, and I'm here with Lindsey. And Lindsey's filling in because our scheduled guest got sick, and she was at the doctor, and she has to reschedule. So Lindsey has some exciting things to talk about. You are a homesteader? Or you have a homesteading blog, right?
Yes, I'm a homesteader with a homesteading blog. It's called The Wattle and Cluck.
The Wattle and Cluck.
And we have ducks, chickens, geese, guineas, quail, and turkeys. And then I run a blog with that. I do a lot of recipes on the blog, a lot of kind of telling people how to homestead, even if you're just in an apartment. You can still homestead in an apartment. That's where I started. And then I also sell like my eggs and some baked good and stuff at local farmers markets. So it's a lot, but it's really fun.
Okay, and where do you? Because we have people will have like stuff like that too, and follow people like that here. So yeah, it is. Like I said, just if you're joining, I know I said we were having somebody on mental health today and ADHD, but she got sick, is at the doctor, and so we have to reschedule. And Lindsey, and your last name is
Chastain.
Chastain. And what state are you in?
I'm in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Okay. So, yeah, well, you have you live on a lot of acreage?
We only have 4 acres. So as far as homesteading goes, we're fairly small.
Mm-hmm.
But it's plenty of land. You can have a full homestead on 1 acre, actually.
Right. And don't worry about that. It's just like mine. Yeah, I expect mine will walk through it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally fine. It's life. Yeah, it's life.
Homeschool lunchtime.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get into the homesteading? Were your parents like that, or is this something new for you?
No, my parents are very much city people. My husband, he grew up on a farm. But actually, I started homesteading before I had met him.
Mm-hmm.
When my kids were little, I was a newly single mother, and groceries are expensive.
Yeah.
And we would watch a lot of nature shows. We would watch a lot of home cooking shows and things like that. And so we kind of decided that we were going to try to grow some things on our balcony. And so that's what we started doing. We started with just a tomato plant and seeing if we could grow tomatoes and bell peppers on the balcony. And just as that progressed, we moved into a house eventually, and we started doing some above ground beds and had some rabbits. And then we kind of went, full force once we moved to our acreage. And we still have quite a few plans for expansion.
Mm-hmm.
It just, takes time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what is your growing season out there? Because we have a really short one here in New York. It's like you're really not supposed to put anything until Memorial Day weekend, because you could still get frost. And then it pretty much,
Right.
like we're now, it's going to be, that's it. And it's already done. Like tomatoes and stuff have already,
Yeah, and I always recommend for people that do live in colder climates, you can start growing your plants indoors. That way you don't miss the beginning of that growing season. I usually, it's very glamorous, but I start my pots in the garage. I just have an old bookshelf that's out there, and I start my plants on there, and I have a couple of grow lights that I got from Walmart with those, those silver clip lights that you can buy that are
clamps. Yep.
expensive. And I just have a couple of grow lights, and they start in the garage. And then, after the final frost, then those go into the ground. Usually it's a good idea to start planning your planting season early in the year. January, February, start planning. That way you can order seeds. One thing that's really great that a lot of people don't know about is a lot of libraries have seed catalogs, and you can go to the library and check out the seeds. Now, it seems counterintuitive, right? Because how can you return them?
Right.
So you take them home, you plant them, and then they just ask that, next year you bring some seeds back to add to the library. You can also
you mean they have like seed packets that.
packets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And a lot of times they have, like the library that is closest to me, we're right in the middle of Cherokee Nation and the Osage Nation. So a lot of the seeds that we can check out are related to those two tribes and things that they have historically grown, and they're trying to spread the use of those vegetables. Um, but you can also buy seeds with food stamps. So even if you don't have a whole lot of money to invest, you can grow stuff in plastic pots. A lot of times if you go to like Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart, they'll give you the black plastic pots. Those work great. You can
Oh,
use
right.
those.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Because I usually keep them. The problem that I've had, like sometimes you start your seeds inside and they grow too tall and then you can't put them outside. And that's always been like my thing. So I usually start with the plants that I get at the nursery at the right time, just because I don't know what it is. Some people have really good luck doing the seeds inside, but I'm either starting them way too early and they're getting way too tall and then they're just not thriving in the pot. And
And
yeah,
you're probably starting a little too early if they're getting a little too tall.
right.
It's a good idea to check to find out. You can check the Farmer's Almanac when your last freeze is expected and plant 6 weeks before that.
Okay. Yeah, because I've tried, and then it's like, but I have my friend, like, we all use the same seeds. One time, some guy came on with these, like, kind of designer tomatoes, and it was funny because some people had the problem I had, and then my other friend's husband, he had, like, everything great, and then another woman just emailed me, and she's like, I want to get more of those seeds because they were so good. So, yeah, it's like, all different. I'm sure I
Well, and
started too early.
a lot of times seeds also have different, things that they need for germination. Some seeds that I'm starting next year, they need to be wet and put in paper towels in the refrigerator for a week before you plant them. So it's always just a good idea to look up what you're planting and see what it needs. A lot of plants also need a lot of nitrogen in order to grow really well. And nitrogen is very easy to get and
Right.
it's very inexpensive. In the fall, when your leaves fall, instead of throwing them all away, keep a bag. And then when you plant your seeds,
Oh.
put some of those dead leaves on top. And as they break down, they will enrich your soil with nitrogen. We don't actually rake up any of our leaves here. We just let
Yeah,
them
we
fall
don't do
and
too much
occasionally
raking.
relocate them to different beds.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's a good idea. Yeah, I never heard that. So put them in a bag and just let them stay like that over the winter, and then throw them on your seeds when you plant them.
yeah, throw them on your seeds when you plant. You can also use mulch, but you want to make sure if you use mulch that you're not using anything that's been dyed. There's lots of those pretty colored mulches out
Yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah, I mean, the best things that you can put in your garden beds, old banana peels, used coffee grounds, and dead leaves.
What about do you? Because I had a friend I remember somewhere I worked.
There's a
Hold on
rhythm
a
in
second.
life.
She used fish
And if you want to
emulsion.
learn to
Hold on,
listen
this
for it,
ad is playing on my video. Fish emulsion or something. Have you ever heard of that? It's like
I
this.
have not ever tried that. It's something that I have on my list to do some research for. But we have really sort of bootstrapped everything together. I think that's
Right.
what most homesteaders do. And so I always try to find the least expensive option that has the least barrier to trying it out.
Right. Do you you compost in your house? Like you compost all your
We do.
household stuff?
Yeah, we do. We have three big trash cans, the big rubber trash cans. You can just create a compost pile on the ground.
Right.
But we have three big trash cans because my husband can't stand the smell of
Yeah,
the
right, yeah.
compost. So put the lid on there, drill some holes in the bottom that allow the worms to come up through the bottom. And then the first year that we moved here, we knew we needed a lot of compost fairly quickly. So we went to the local bait shop and freed some bait worms and just put them in our compost and allowed them to go to work.
Oh, okay.
And then we also have an outdoor bin that we allow the chickens to go through. So as they scratch through it and look for bugs, they're turning that compost. They're doing all the work for you, really.
Oh, okay. And so, the kind of things you can compost, just in case people don't know, is like any of your vegetable trimmings, your peels.
Anything organic
Yeah.
that has not had a lot of sodium added to it. So, your apple cores, your potato peels,
Mm-hmm.
coffee grounds, eggshells.
Eggshells. Yeah.
But you also want to add organic matter to or brown matter is what they call it, that helps break down that food. So that can be your dead leaves, it can be old newspapers, cardboard boxes, all those Amazon boxes
Really,
that we
cardboard
all get.
boxes? Wow.
You can
Okay.
you can tear those up and just sprinkle them down with a little bit of water, and those will start to help break down all of that food matter. And what you end up with is just a really, really rich soil. Generally, I say you need about 60% brown material, 40% food waste, organic matter.
Okay. Well, that's news. I didn't know that you could put the boxes in there. I knew about like the organic matter, but I didn't know about the
Yeah, just
brown
make sure
matter.
you take the tape off because the
Yeah.
tape won't biodegrade. And, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, can I, like when I clean out my chicken coop, can I put that in the compost? Not really recommended to put chicken waste matter or other waste matter in your compost. Um, you want to keep it to that organic matter. If you've cooked something,
Mm-hmm.
you can still put it in there. You just want to make sure that you didn't add a lot of salt to it because the salt will completely change the way that the soil breaks down.
Oh, okay. And so, and besides like the plants, then you said you have the poultry. Do you have any other? Do you have goats or anything? Do you?
We do not have goats yet. That is in the plan.
Mm-hmm.
The property that we bought was fenced for horses. And I don't know what you know about goats, but they are
Oh, I know.
escape
Yeah, escape
artists.
artists. Yeah.
Um, I mean, I already have problems with my turkeys. My female turkey was actually over at my neighbor's house the other day looking in his kitchen window.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he loves them and he feeds them too. So,
Oh,
but
I know. There used to
yeah,
be a big turkey around here, and he used to walk out in the street to the car, and everybody used to see, and he was somebody's, Peppody used to always be out there. My daughter will still remember that when were driving her to school that he would come over. Yeah, it's funny. Turkeys,
yeah,
funny.
our turkeys are very friendly and very curious. But ghosts just require some pretty secure fencing.
Yeah.
And with the large lot that we have, it's just going to take, time and money.
Yeah, no,
So,
goats are crazy, and we just saw because we live at like where there's a lot of farms and stuff, but they just opened a cider mill, and they just said, oh, we've got goats in the back, so we went to see them, and they had like the agility boards and stuff, and the goats were really quiet the day we went. I took some video; they were all sleeping on top of a thing, but I said, I know because my sister-in-law had one, and he was always escaping, and then the ones down the street in the farm they get loose every now and then, and yeah. But people are
yeah,
making,
and that's
goat soap, right? Goat milk and all kinds of products with that. So, do you do any other things like that with? Do you make soaps or?
yeah. I don't make soaps yet. I do plan to once we have goats. In Oklahoma, you can't sell goat milk unless people come directly to your farm.
Okay.
But it is amazing. It tastes pretty much like cow's milk, like a 2%
Mm-hmm.
cow's milk. But there are some farmers markets here locally that operate year round, and I make baked goods and I sell those there as well as our eggs from all of our birds that we have. People love quail eggs once they've tried them.
Yeah.
Um, and duck eggs are like chicken eggs, but a little bit richer. One duck egg has the nutritional equivalent of three chicken eggs.
Oh wow. And how they taste similar? Like you can scramble them, and do they taste similar?
They taste very similar. They have a little bit of a richer flavor than a chicken egg, but they scramble up. They have the same exact texture. They're just larger. But I have discovered that duck eggs, when you're baking,
Mm-hmm.
makes everything fluffier, lighter and fluffier. And so I don't bake with anything other than duck eggs now.
Right, but it doesn't change, like, it doesn't change your recipe. Like, somebody doesn't say, what did you do this, right? It just,
Yeah, no, the only difference is just the amount. So, like if I have a recipe that calls for 2 chicken eggs, I would just use 1 duck egg.
oh, okay. I'm surprised then, if that's the case, that more people don't use them, right? Is it because ducks don't lay as much? Is there,
They lay a pretty similar to what chickens do. Our chickens, because I'm in Oklahoma, our chickens lay year round. There's a couple of months of the year when it's super cold where they don't lay as much. But ducks will lay about 8 to 9 months out of the year. And they generally lay 1 egg a day, just like chickens do. But I think that they're just not as available. I've never seen duck eggs in a grocery store.
yeah, no, not in a
I've
grocery
only
store, no.
Yeah, I've only ever seen them at farmers
Yeah,
markets. And I know in some areas of the country, duck eggs are a lot more expensive than chicken eggs are. But when you consider that, for every 1 duck egg, you're getting the nutritional equivalent of 3 duck eggs,
three chicken eggs, yeah.
you don't, yeah, or 3 chicken eggs, then you don't need to use as many. So a dozen duck eggs is going to take you a lot further. But yeah, I've just never seen their availability anywhere outside of farmers markets.
What color are duck's eggs?
They are white and kind of a very light green,
Okay, yeah.
almost just a very pale celadon.
Yeah, and it might be that, like, to have ducks, it's a little more than chickens because you have to have some kind of a water source for them, right? And
Yes. You
yeah,
need some sort of water source, and ducks are much louder and much messier than
messier. And
chickens.
how do they roost? Like with the chickens, you have a hen house and they go in there and you know where the eggs are, but where do the ducks lay the eggs?
Wherever they want to.
Wherever they want. Yeah, so yeah, that's probably what.
That's the simple answer. But yeah, ducks don't use a nesting box. You don't need to provide
Right.
them, and they don't roost. They sleep on the ground. So ducks in the wild will sometimes sleep on the water, or they will have a secure area. We actually have a pen, a very large pen that the ducks go into at night. It's the only time that my ducks are in a row, is when they get in a row and they go into the pen at night. And they live in there with the geese. And then most of the time they've just made a nest in there in the hay and they've laid them there. But I have also found them in the pond. I have found them in the middle of the pasture. I found them right next to the chicken's water bowl.
Yeah,
So,
so it's a little harder. It's not as easy as
yeah,
chickens, right? Collecting their eggs.
yeah.
And the
And
quail,
ours free range too. So once
yeah.
they're let out in the morning, they are out on our full acreage until they go up at night. So usually they don't go back into the more dense foresty areas. They stay in the pasture areas. But yeah, it's an Easter egg hunt every day.
Do you have problems with foxes or coyotes or?
We have, not with foxes, but we've had problems with raccoons and coyotes. We have cameras that I can look at any time during the day, and we've had problems with owls and hawks as well. But we do keep roosters. A lot of people who live in the city don't keep roosters because they are very
Noisy.
loud and they do crow
Yeah.
all day long. But the roosters are there to help protect the hens. We have lost some, but everyone they don't come out until the sun is completely up, and they go up at dusk, and they are all kept in very secure, predator-proof environments overnight.
Right. And what about, do you have any donkeys? Because donkeys are supposed to be good against
Donkeys are
protecting
great.
against coyotes,
I have
right?
2 donkeys that live next door. But we currently do not have any donkeys because we're still working on fencing that whole property.
Right.
But the donkeys that are next door are fairly close to our barn, and so they have alerted us a couple of times to predators.
Yeah, because they are really good
Most,
against
yeah,
coyotes over here, is what they say. Yeah.
yeah, they're great. We don't let our dogs go anywhere near that donkey fence because
Oh, right, because they don't like yeah, because they're just yeah.
yeah,
I
because
know.
they're very very protective. But, you know, there's all different kinds. Donkeys are one type of livestock guardian. Um, there are certain types of dogs that are also great livestock guardians. And emus and ostriches also make great livestock guardians.
Oh, really? Yeah. Because they're
Yeah,
big. Yeah, they're. Do
because
you have emus and ostriches?
I do not have emus and ostriches, but I do have geese and turkeys, and they are much bigger birds than, you know, the rest of them. And so they just based on their sheer size and noise are able to keep a lot of the predators away. I was actually reading a story the other day about there is a prison, I want to say it was in Russia, but they've completely replaced all of their guard dogs with geese.
Oh,
So they
wow.
have geese that live around the perimeter of this prison. And geese are they're very, very noisy. They're cleaner
Yeah.
than ducks
Yeah.
by just a little bit. But anytime that you have an animal that's in and out of the water all day, you can't keep any of their bedding dry. So it
Right.
just eventually creates mud. And then, you know, they drop their waste in the same area. So,
Yeah.
you know, they're just very messy, but the geese are my alarm system. Nobody can walk near or by our property without those geese yelling about it.
So now with geese, I mean, nobody uses their eggs, right?
Yes,
They
they
do?
absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. So if your chicken egg is about this big, your goose egg is about this big. So
Okay.
it's very large. It's about 6 chicken eggs.
And they taste like chicken
They
eggs?
taste like duck eggs. Like they're a little bit richer than chicken eggs, but not by much. We actually did a taste test one day, and my husband scrambled all of the different types of eggs, and we tried to taste test, and no one could guess
Oh,
what
really?
was.
Okay. Because I've
So
always been, thinking that it must taste very different, but I've never seen goose eggs for sale. I've seen, duck eggs, but I've never seen goose eggs for sale. So what's the reason that we're not seeing those? Are they harder to
I think they're just, you know, people in more urban environments can have chickens. They're fairly quiet without a rooster. But when you start getting into the bigger birds, they require a lot more space. Geese require a water source, just like ducks,
ducks? Okay.
and they require, you know, a lot more space. Geese only lay 2 to 3 eggs a week. And they generally are, you know, more expensive than like your duck eggs or your chicken eggs. If you do find them, they may be sold even as single eggs, or sometimes as a half dozen. I don't think I've ever seen a dozen goose eggs for sale. Usually at the farmers markets, when I see them, we're either the only people that have them, or people are selling them in singles and half dozens. But yeah, they are quite big. I can go grab one
Sure, yeah, I'd love to
really
see.
fast if
Yeah,
you want to.
yeah, sure.
I'll go grab an
Okay,
egg.
I'll tell them. So, in case you're just joining us, just what happened was our guest suddenly got ill. She had to go to the doctor. She's going to reschedule, but Lindsay stepped in, because she felt bad. So she said, "I can jump on. I do homesteading, and I'm a digital marketing expert. So we've been talking about homesteading." And that's where we are. But I know, like, Linda has chickens. My friend Linda here, and then she has chickens.
Right,
Oh,
so this is a chicken egg.
right.
And then when you and these are not washed, I
Oh
apologize
no,
in
that's the
advance.
way they are.
But
I'm used to
here's
that.
your, yeah, here's your duck egg. So they're pretty similar in size, but the duck egg has 3 times the nutritional value of the chicken egg. And then we also have guinea eggs, which are smaller and have this like pointy tip. Guineas we have them around because they eat mosquitoes, they eat fleas, they eat ticks.
Oh wow.
Ever since we got guineas, we have not had to have any kind of flea treatment on our dogs.
Now guineas are they're not they're not a type of chicken, or are they
No, they're
don't they're
completely
completely
different. They
different.
look like dinosaurs. They're very, very ugly in their face, but they're mostly people don't usually get guineas for the eggs. They get them for the bug control. And they are very, very noisy. They chatter all day long, but their eggs taste just like chicken eggs.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got the goose egg,
Oh, the goose
which
egg.
is much, much larger
Right.
than the chicken egg.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, you kind of got to feel sorry for the goose, right? But they're pretty big, and these have a single yolk. I mean, when you crack them open, it looks just like a gigantic
Wow.
chicken egg. Tastes pretty much the same.
That's crazy. So if you make
And
one sunny side up, it must look funny, like must
yeah,
take up the whole dish
it's a
almost,
yeah,
right?
it's six chicken eggs. We don't break open the goose eggs unless more than one person is eating.
Right, right. That's
And then
cool.
we, and then you've got the quail eggs,
Oh, the quail eggs are
which
so
are
tiny.
very, very small.
What do you do
It
with
takes
them?
3 quail eggs to make one chicken egg.
Oh, okay. So,
So, and yeah, so they're very, very small. And I don't recommend just trying to crack these open. There are special quail scissors that you can get. They're like $2 on Amazon. And it just clips the top off. These look and taste just like chicken eggs, but they're slightly richer, just like the duck eggs, but they have the same texture, the same type of flavor profile, and they're considered delicacies a lot of places. You can also boil a quail egg
right.
and just pop the whole thing in your mouth, shell and all. Because
Oh,
once you boil
wow.
it, it's really soft. So if you ever see quail eggs, instead of scrambling them or whatever, make up a little snack. Just take your frying pan,
Hmm.
put some quail eggs in there, fill it up with water, boil them for about 20 minutes, just like you would hard boil an egg, but put some salt and pepper, garlic powder in that water, and the shells get really, really soft. And it's just a great little snack
Hmm.
to pop that's really, really healthy versus candy,
Right.
right?
And then turkeys. What about turkeys? Nobody eats their eggs, right?
Yeah, turkey eggs are just like everything else. My turkeys have not started laying yet, so I do not currently have any turkey eggs. Mine should start laying any day now. I keep asking them when they're going to.
So those are larger, I would
Those
imagine,
are
right?
larger. Yeah, they're going to be about the same size as the duck egg.
And they taste similar to a chicken egg?
They taste, yeah. The only difference between the taste of the eggs is everything but a chicken egg has a different, very, very small hint of richness. And like I said, we've taste tested them all, and we can't tell the difference when you don't know what it is.
Right, right, right. Yeah, and about what do people? Okay, the ostrich and the emu, they also lay eggs. What do they use their eggs for?
People just eat them. Ostrich and emu eggs they do have a little bit of a different flavor profile than more of your standard farm birds. They are a lot more rich. They do have, the main difference is in the varying amounts of the healthy cholesterols, the fats, the proteins that you get from each egg. So kind of when I've given you the comparison, like it takes 3 of these tiny quail eggs to give you the nutrition of one chicken egg.
Right.
But it only takes one duck egg for 2 to 3 chicken eggs, and one, goose egg is 6 chicken eggs. So it's really the difference in nutrition and not so much in the flavor, because once you cook them, they all taste pretty similar.
Okay, so I was going to ask
Now,
you
someone
something.
who's better cook than me may be able to bring out the flavors more, you know, famous
So
chefs.
yeah, so like the cholesterol content can differ. Do you know which egg is supposed to be the healthiest egg for you?
The goose egg is supposed to be the healthiest. It does have the most cholesterol as well, but it's mostly the good
The
kind
good
of
cholesterol.
cholesterol.
Okay.
As with any eggs, you don't want to eat a dozen a day because
Right.
that will affect your cholesterol. But even if you're eating, 2 chicken eggs every single morning for your whole entire life, you're not getting enough of the bad cholesterol for it to have any effect.
Okay. And so along with that, do you do a lot of canning? And
I do some canning. ever since we moved here, we've been trying to stick on a what we will eat basis
Yeah.
for our growing so that we're not putting putting
Stuff up.
too much in the
Yeah.
ground.
Right.
And
Not using it. Yeah.
yeah, and we're still learning all of the, because we haven't planted in all the areas we want to plant yet. So we're still learning the soil. And, I always recommend when you're learning a new garden bed or learning the soil, don't go overboard because then if it doesn't grow, you're not out too
Yeah.
much
Right.
money. But I do some canning. I love making salsas, make all different kinds of salsas. And then, of course, just saving some of those. Vegetables and things that we weren't able to consume during growing season. I do also freeze quite a lot.
Yeah.
So with canning, you're changing the texture of the vegetable. If you freeze things, as long as you're not, freezing them for a super long time, you can pretty much get things back to the consistency that they were or very close to for making meals. So like with my bell peppers, I prefer to freeze them
Right.
versus.
Oh, yeah. 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 My mother did that too. Like she didn't grow them, but she would go, we had farmers buyers get a big bushel, and one day she would just sit there and she would freeze most of them. Some she would roast and put in the jars with oil. But yeah, definitely freezing is definitely a good way to go.
We do a lot of canning of our peppers and our fruits. Our fruit harvest, unfortunately, is not that great right now because we haven't lived here for long enough for fruit trees to be fully grown. So we're just getting a very small harvest every year. But one of these days, we will have more than we can eat.
Yeah. So, do you do a lot, yeah, jellies and jam? Do you know how to do that? Jelly jams.
Yeah, it's actually a lot easier than you think it is. It's just boiling and adding pectin. I thought the very first time that I had a friend invite me over and she said, "Hey, do you want to come over? We're going to have a jam canning party." And I thought, I'm going to go over there and I am going to look dumb because I was like, it was the first year I had really done any canning. I had, very limited knowledge. I was reading out of the ball canning book
Yeah.
religiously, and following the steps. And it was surprisingly simple. And now I will, even if I go to a farmer's market and somebody has, a great crop of fruit that looks good, I'll buy it and go home and turn it into jams and jellies or can it for kids love eating just the
Yeah,
jar.
yeah, I think it is because my neighbor over here, she said like somebody brought in a bunch of peaches to our post office because they had so many peaches. She came back the next day, and my husband said, she said, "Well, I'm going home and I'm making jam with it." So I'm like, "Oh, she's like resourceful." But then my son's girlfriend's mother was sent home some peach jam too, and it was really good. So yeah, I guess it's not maybe not that hard to do because But I don't know. We tried canning once, but it was prior to YouTube, like where you could watch a video and see it. And I don't know what happened because my son grew so many cucumbers. I said, okay, let's try to do some dill pickles or something, right? So we got everything, and I don't know what happened. We got everything in the jars, and we left it, and then we opened it. They were not dill pickles. Like I don't know what we did, and it was harder because you're not, you're just either looking at a book or there's no video. So and I don't know, just kind of, I was like, oh, we're not canners. I don't know what's going on.
And now with YouTube, there are so
There
many
you can learn
different
everything and
opinions on,
and
how
do
to make
things,
things.
that you've never done before. So now you work from home too?
Yes, I also have my own business that I run from home. It's, been the best thing with all the different animals to take care of.
Right.
But I'm a writer,
Right.
so that's what I do. I was an English professor, and then I was a journalist, and then my paper closed. So I started this business, and I started off as a writer, and then, slowly I learned, different skills, different combinations of skills. I think that's something that has really been beneficial to me is with homesteading and with my business is learning how to recombine
Right.
skills that I have
Oh, yeah.
already into something new. And so I do writing and digital marketing and public relations.
Right, and I think it has you, because like I have a very strong background in digital marketing too, and a writer, blogger, all that. So we have that in common. But I think, like with you say, with your homesteading, it's whatever you do, then you're constantly thinking like, well, how can I get this out there, right? How to make your business better. You've got, I don't know, it's like some people may call it hustle or drive, but it's like all the pieces start to work together, and you think, how can we get this out there? So, because I was just thinking, like, we went to the local grocery store, and I don't know if they have it down by you, but they take like 4 little logs and they put shrink wrap on them for like the campsites. We live in a touristy town on a lake, so people will come up from the city and spend $10 to $12 on like 4 logs, at the grocery store.
I'm in the wrong business.
I said to my kids, because we have a lot of acreage and stuff, and we have more logs than we'll ever use. And I said, you guys, that would be, you just get a roll of shrink wrap, and if you guys could go put that out there, that's a little side business. But yeah, always, thinking like especially when you see things, and we do get a lot of people that come up from the city and they don't want to be bothered with, like they want to have that fire, but they don't want to get out and chop the wood, so it's like they want the convenience and they'll pay for it. So, it's, I told the kids, I said, that's something.
Yeah, and I mean, that's completely understandable, because I am probably a little bit different than a lot of homestead bloggers, because, I don't do everything from scratch.
Right.
I just don't have the desire or the time.
Yeah.
So, there's still a lot of things that I purchase for convenience. I try to grow only the things that I know that my family will eat. And yes, I know how to make bread from scratch, but running my own business, most of the time we just buy bread from the store.
Right, yeah. I like to bake bread too, yeah, and I always say, I'm going to do this more, but it's a lot of time. It's not that it's hard, it's just a lot of time, a lot of steps.
It's just time consuming.
Yeah,
it's time consuming, and there's a lot of steps. And, anybody who's ever run their own business knows that sometimes the pace of the day just gets out of your control, and, you forget to go back and, knead the bread again before the next fries.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you say you're homeschooling your kids too?
We have 4 kids total. 2 are my husband's and 2 are mine. One's in college. One does virtual school. So it's a little bit different than homeschool. He gets all his instruction and I'm just there to help. And then we have 2 that go to traditional public school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yes. But there's still I know my kids are in school, but it's the activities after school, it's like, track practice, this one needs that, it's constant, right? And it's running and you don't know, and then they'll come home and they'll tell you, we have an assembly tonight and we didn't tell you, right? And it's mandatory, we've got to go, for something for driving. But yeah, and just like today, you didn't know you were going to be doing this, and I appreciate you coming on and speaking with us. This has been very interesting, and I think Linda is talking because she just it's her first year with chickens. Her chickens just started laying. Like the other day, she came on. She said, "Oh my gosh, I got my first egg, and now she's getting a couple of eggs, but she got them in the spring, and so they just started laying."
Yeah, it's very exciting when you go out and you find that first egg, and and I still get excited. When I go out every day, it's still fun to me. I do it every day and I go out there and I look for eggs and I still think it's fun. My kids some of them are more on board than the others. My husband's oldest he just recently got a job as a ranch hand, and he's decided like that's what he wants to do for the rest of his life. Is he'll get out there and he'll help us clear stuff or put up fencing or whatever, and he just liked it so much he decided to do that for his whole career.
Right. What about, do they do maple syrup out there?
No,
you don't, because they do that over here. But I know my sister-in-law, she's so funny because she lived, very suburban life, but she's the one that got the goat. She was driving the goat around in a BMW to the exotic vet. I think she probably wanted to live on a farm her whole life, but one time she tried to do the maple syrup. And I'll never forget, she said, and she was a teacher first before she became a stay-at-home mom. She was stirring and stirring, and she's like, I was stirring and stirring like all day, and like she got that much syrup. She was like, but it was an experience. But I don't think she ever did it again. I mean, it was very time consuming.
There's quite a few things that I've tried, once or twice, and went, okay, maybe that's not the part
that's not our thing
for me. I haven't ever done maple syrup because we just don't have the trees around here for that. But I have made caramel, and yeah, it goes the exact same way. You stir and stir and stir, and you end up with so little. So now I've said, I tried to make caramel candies one time and said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. But if we want a caramel drizzle for the top of something, I'll do that. But the candies took me 2 days the first time I tried to do it to get it figured out. So too much time. I think that we can all find like a really good balance between, doing things that make us feel like we're more connected to nature, more self-sustaining, but at the same time, we don't have to go all the way to where some people do, where we're doing everything from scratch.
Right.
And I look at those people that do that with such admiration. I'm like, that is such a challenge. And I would love to be that person, but I'm can't.
See, if something's got to give. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I have the same struggle, and you got to just give yourself some grace on that, and just say, not everybody can do all that, and you just can't do. We can't have it all. We just have to know like what's enough. But the other thing I want to ask you about bees. Have you ever done the bees?
I have not done the bees. I am allergic to bees. However, there is a gentleman who writes for the Wattle and Cluck. His name is David John. He is the sweetest man you'll ever meet. He's 82 or 83 years old. And he has done some writing about bees for the website. He grew up in West Africa and then moved here, and he and I became friends when I was working at the paper. He just walked in one day and said, hey, can I write a nature column for the newspaper? And I said, well, sure. It was my second day on the job.
Sure,
and he said, everybody else has told me no. And I said, well, sure, send me a few. So he wrote for the paper every single week. He provided some little knowledge on nature's creatures or things like that. And when the paper closed, I said, well, come write for my blog. So every week he still writes something and has beautiful photos. So if you like nature photography, definitely
and you'll have to give me email me after this your website, because then I'll fix up the video with your links in it, because it still has the other links and stuff, but I'll fix it up for you. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I saw the bees, right? One time we had, tell you about it, I don't want to ask you, honeybees on our lawn. We didn't know what they were. I'm like, I told my husband, there's something on the lawn, a whole bunch of bees. They're not moving. They're just like on the lawn in a spot. And so we called somebody, and they called one of the local people that have, they have honey farms and stuff and bee farms. So they came, they were so happy. And it was just incredible the way they just got them all, with them. And they were like, wonderful, this is great. And now I know, like, neighbors of mine who don't even live here full time, and guys from the city, I saw the boxes with the little things on the side of the house. And I said, well, I wonder what happens. But it's something like my other son and I were always talking about it and wanted to do it, because we do consume, my husband and sons especially, a lot of honey and different kinds of honey, the cream honey and the honeycomb. So that is something I'm looking into, how much, that requires, and what happens in the winter. They just, go dormant.
Yeah, in the winter they go dormant. I have several beekeepers around here that I work with to write articles.
Right.
And my husband's planning on getting them. I just unfortunately have to have the really expensive suit.
Yeah.
Because I'm allergic to them. So, but yeah, I've talked with them a lot. And in winter they just go to sleep. They go dormant. And the people that I know that have them say that, they can't imagine life without their bees anymore. and they
Right.
have a lot of fun taking care of them. It is one of the a little bit more expensive to get started with,
Mm-hmm.
because unless you're building those boxes yourself, they're like $250-ish each. And then a decent suit is around $250 as well. And then you also need to have a fogger.
Right.
So
Right.
anytime that you're going to go out and deal with the bees, you fog them so that it makes them a little sleepy.
Right. You're getting
Otherwise, you
sleepy.
do get swarmed from what I understand. We do buy all of our honey from the local beekeepers that I work with, and it's really interesting how different the honey tastes from farm to farm,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the flowers that
Yeah.
are nearby. I just purchased a lavender honey, where he grew them in, he had them, specifically kind of netted off in an area where they had almost exclusively lavender. And that honey is so delicious.
Oh, okay. Lavender.
So the pollen, whatever flowers that the bees are picking up,
Yeah.
the pollen from really affects the flavor of the honey.
Oh yeah, I know. My husband was just telling me he's like you can't find the orange blossom honey anywhere. He's like, but don't get this honey, but the buckwheat because it's really really strong. And he was going through the whole thing in the car, and I said, and that's when we started talking about bees. But yeah, lavender honey. I don't think he's ever tried that. I'll tell him to see if he finds some lavender honey.
Yeah, it was very, very good. I've never tried orange blossom honey, but now I'm going to be on the hunt for
Yeah,
it.
he's like you can't.
That
He was
sounds
telling me he's like you can't get it anywhere now. And it's like the most delicious honey. Um, so I'm like okay. He's like yeah. He's like they're out of it everywhere. Um, Orange blossom honey. So and I don't think I've ever tried it. But like I said, they really love honey. I mean like and my brother used to eat it like off the spoon. I don't not a real honey eater like that, but I will put it in tea and stuff and like it. But it's supposed to be really good for your allergies if you get
Mhm.
Local honeys with the
Local
local
honey.
yeah, that's
Yep,
supposed to be a good thing.
that's what I've always heard. I unfortunately can't do that because I'm diabetic.
Oh, okay.
So a spoonful of honey every day, but my husband does that,
Yeah.
and it has really improved his allergies.
Oh, has it? Yeah, okay. Because that's what they say. They say, it really does because it gets you kind of used
Yeah,
to the.
trust me, I would much rather have a spoonful of honey than take than take a pill every day.
Right, right.
My
So you've
nutrition.
got a double whammy with the bees. You're allergic to them and you're diabetic, right? Yeah,
And I'm diabetic. Now that doesn't mean that I can't ever have honey. I just
right.
can't do a
You can't have it
spoonful a
every day.
day.
Yeah. But this was great. And just one other question: do you guys do any of like stuff with your wood? Like a lot of people are. I just went to a place yesterday and they were making furniture with the wood, and it's like called Adirondack style. They even make the railings like with the branches, and they've done beds and tables. Do you do any of that?
My husband does.
Yeah.
He does a lot of woodworking. In fact, right now he's redoing all the shelving in my closet. So I'm not tremendously glamorous, but necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets out there and he tries all different kinds of stuff. We don't really have the acreage to be doing that with our own wood.
Hmm.
Because we would run out of trees very, very quickly on only
Right.
4 acres. But my husband does a lot of woodworking and he's a machinist. So if there's anything mechanical that needs to be done, he's the one that gets it all figured out.
Oh, good, good. And like I said, you just email me, yeah, because I would like to take a look at your blog. I know the people here want to take a look at your blog, and then we have replays because we have a lot of our people are in Australia, some are in the UK, and then the rest are working, so they watch later on. So there's always people cycling through. So I will put your link to your blog again. Tell me what it is again, just so they can
It's
waddle and
waddleandcluck.com.
clock.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, just and then.
I picked it because it sounds like an old English pub for birds. And
Yeah, waddle. Yeah.
made me happy,
How
so
long
that's
have
what
you
we
had
named
the
our blog.
blog?
I started the blog a couple years ago. Um, we had already named the farm the Waddle and Cluck, and I was just really having so much fun
Hmm.
doing what we were doing, and knowing that we started off so small, with one pot of tomatoes and
Yeah.
kind of where we were going. Somebody said to me, "Hey, since the newspaper shut down and you're not writing news stories anymore, you should write homesteading stories."
Yeah, there's a big market for that. A lot of people, especially with the pandemic and stuff, everybody was saying you should be self-sufficient and have something because people got scared. A lot of people went into it with the pandemic.
Goodness, I apologize. The Amazon man must be here.
Oh, that's all right. What kind of dogs do you have? I meant to ask you that.
I have 5.
Yeah.
I have a beagle, which is the one that you hear that's, sounds like the fire engine. And then we also have a mini Australian Shepherd. Both of those were rescues that came to us by way of someone who couldn't take care of their dog anymore. And then we have 3 Bochies. They're Boston Terrier Chihuahua mixes.
Oh, okay.
So they look like Edgar. Come here. They look like
Right here.
tiny little bulldogs.
Oh, yeah, they do.
So this is Edgar.
Hi, Edgar. Hi, Edgar.
And he's the baby. We had first got the first Bochi, and then we got a second one, and they had babies, and we kept Edgar. So we have mama, dad, a baby, and then the 2 rescues that came to us.
Right.
We occasionally foster as well, so sometimes there's even more dogs here.
Yeah, no, I get it. So, but I really do appreciate you jumping on here and talking with us. It's been very interesting. And if anybody has any questions, you watch this later, you could put them in the comments, and I'll alert you to them if you want to stop around back.
I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has as long as I can. And if I can't, I may know someone that can.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well,
And
thank you
you
so
have
much
a
for
wonderful
having
day,
me.
and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Take care. I'll get us
Bye.
out of here. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. Okay. Me and me. Okay. Thank you, guys, for watching. We will be rescheduling our mental health experts, so don't fear not. Life got in the way of that. It's a lot of people getting sick. My kids are home from school sick themselves, so she's in the same state. So I think there may be some gross stuff going around, but wish her well. Hope she feels better, and she'll be back. Tomorrow we have another guest at 2 p.m., so you're not going to want to miss that. Please, bookmark it and subscribe if you're not, and we'll see you then. Everybody have a good day. Let me see how to stop this machine. Carolyn from Mommy Ramblings, and I'm here with Lindsay. And Lindsay's filling in because our scheduled guest. Hang on. Now I know that I'm trying to find my thing to this. That's funny. Switch. No, I don't want to do that. I want to go to my YouTube studio. All right. So, and I'll see you guys later on. I'm going to pop out. I have to run some errands. Let's see here. And we'll go over here. Aha. All right, and there we go. See you guys later. God bless. Prayers. Goodbye.